So indeed, there's a lot of stuff we could be talking about today. There's the fact that Theresa May, of all people, seems to be the only Conservative holding Boris Johnson to account for his time as Prime Minister. We've got not only people in Europe, but customers in the UK, when they're receiving parcels, having up to £100 in customs fines, and some customers, especially in Europe, are refusing to pay them, resulting in return packages, which then cost the company another further expense to pay for the customs duties. This has led to companies to basically consider burning or just outright dumping products that they just can't get a hold of again. We've had the announcement from Nissan, which is being lauded by Brexiteers as some sort of haha, the Remainers were wrong in this case, when actually, if you look at the full statement, doesn't fill you with lots of confidence. And all the stuff with COVID, yes, there's a lot of stuff going on. However, I think the piece that we are going to go over today really is something that in this country we should take a serious long look at and consider something that, again, this is something that we need to reform. And that is the justice system itself. And many times we've gone over pieces by The Secret Barrister, who is a fantastic blogger on this stuff and talks about this stuff constantly. You may remember last year we went over the piece about how essentially the infrastructure for courts themselves is just falling to pieces and is just not fit for purpose. Not fit for purpose for a judicial system in the 21st century. And it gets even worse than that, because now COVID has put it under immense pressure, and we have to seriously consider changes. So we're going to go over a piece by Simon Jenkins in The Guardian today, and he was a former I can't remember if he was a former barrister or attorney or something like that. So he's got a lot to say about this particular issue. So before we get into that, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page, as well as a one-off donation link. And thank you very much to all those people who do support me that way. So let's get on with this article then. So the title is, "Our Justice System is in Crisis. So why not abolish jury trials?" A crisis can often be an opportunity, and according to figures out this week, the court system in England and Wales is approaching complete collapse. Unlike hospitals and schools, courtrooms get no publicity. The COVID pandemic has led to a reported build-up of over 457,000 criminal cases, an increase of over 100,000 since the pandemic began. More than half of England's and Wales' 410 courthouses are reported to be unsafe or out of use. As a result, 12% of those incarcerated are on remand, and thousands of possible criminals are at large. The Vietnamese lorry death trials has twice grounded to a halt as jurors have had to go into quarantine. And in another case, a woman who suffered extreme domestic violence in 2019 has had a case postponed and now being told that it will not come to court before 2022. Justin Russell, the Chief Inspector of Probation, warns that the risk now that victims will withdraw support for prosecutions because they have lost faith in the processes. Witnesses will find it difficult to recall events, and prosecutions will just simply collapse. Magistrates hear some cases online, but in serious trials, this is unsatisfactory. The government should take the long opportunity given to them for the and give the system a long overdue reform. Jury trials are completely archaic and should be abandoned other than in exceptional cases. In addition, restrictive job demarcation between solicitors and barristers should end. All qualified lawyers should have rights of audience before any judge or panel of judges. And after three terms as a juryman, I am convinced that juries are a costly indulgence. They have nothing to do with justice except often to distort it. One of the cases I was involved in was of a drunken assault, with guilty being, quote, bound over to keep the peace. My fellow jurors were furious at spending so much time on the trial. Another was a fraud case in which most of the evidence was a total mystery. The third was a blatant attempted murder. We listened for 2 days as young barristers were continuously corrected by the judge, who eventually declared all relevant evidence prejudicial and told us to acquit. It was a farce. And few countries any longer use juries, and most of them are former British colonies, such as the US, Canada, and Australia. They are a relic of medieval civic duty that once embraced compulsory service as constables, vestrymen, and dog catchers. A few European countries call on juries in matter of public opinion or taste, which is why I should use them for local planning disputes where lay opinion is entitled to a view. The crime and incarceration rates in England and Wales are notoriously among the worst in Western Europe, and I am convinced that a significant reason for that is the jury system, and this presents each case as a staged drama enveloped in publicity, an echo of public hanging. Jurors naturally associate guilt with imprisonment, and judges tend to do likewise. Either way, our system is obsessed with imprisonment, and above all, other forms of punishment. In Scandinavia and Germany, prison is strictly a last resort, and a former Home Secretary, Kenneth Barker, was once so fed up with overcrowding jails that he thought of rationing each judge a fixed number of cells a month. So all professions are conservative, but none more so than the law. Bishops and academics may still insist on wearing medieval gowns, but at least they are rid of the wigs. Lawyers, or at least barristers, love dressing up before juries because they are a ritual of audience before whom they can display their talents. Many middle-class jurors of those who have failed to be excused service in court claim to rather enjoy it, as it offers them a glimpse into the life of the underworld. Jury duty is a national service for grown-ups, with lawyers as the officers. Most substantive disagreement in criminal trials is over identity, digital electronics, or deferred finance. These issues are usually a technical fact rather than the balance of observation. They are clearly and rather clarified by legal rhetoric. Any more would be a surgical operation or a scientific experiment. In addition, jury verdicts never give reasons, which must increase their susceptibility to being appeased. As a lawyer of my acquaintance put it, juries are just cost factories. These institutions are eroding. In the US, they are waning fast in the face of what is now an overwhelming use of the plea bargaining, covering more than 97% of federal cases. In effect, justice is passed on to lawyers negotiating with each other, which would probably what it should be. In Britain, juries have been retreated from civil cases and complex frauds, and more recently domestic abuse, where there are risks of tampering. Now there must be time to end them, at the very least by the use of pilots in areas of actual backlog. The exclusivity of the 6,000 barristers in England and Wales is also on the wane. We have seen the admission of some 6,000 specialist solicitor advocates into courtrooms, a process that must improve efficiency. Otherwise, a restrictive practice, though vital to justice nowhere else in the world, is now adding to the collapse of our court system. This must be indefensible, and that's where we are. COVID has put unprecedented pressure on a lot of areas of throughout UK society, and the justice system is no exception. But once again, we come to a system that is clearly archaic in its functions and desperately in need of some type of reform. So it could be very likely that we do see the jury system, as we see it, be a thing of the past. Would I like to see juries go completely? Not 100% sure. I agree with him that juries should be kept in very unusual circumstances. I do agree with the whole laymen in local cases being allowed a view and a voice in that. I do think that is a good idea. Um, Overall, like I say, not entirely my 100% speciality. I'm sure other people agree with me, but I don't think there would be someone else out there who is in the legal profession who would not disagree that it is time that the justice system and the very cogs that keep the justice system rolling need to be replaced, because they are, they've got cracks in them and they're missing a lot of teeth. So let me know what you think. Like I say, and as always, please do remember to hit that like and share button. And of course, down below there is a link to my Patreon page and a one-off donation link. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.